Last year, the Figma to Webflow plugin was released, and everybody thought that it's gonna leave 90% of the Webflow developers on the street. But was that actually the case? Let's find out. In this video, I'll go over of how the Figma to Webflow plugin looks today, what are some of the really good use cases for the plugin itself, what are the places where you definitely don't want to use the plugin, how you can include it in your day-to-day workflow, and finally, how we use it at Flow Ninja. So let's dive in. Before jumping into the bad and the good, let's see how the plugin was actually created and take a look at a little bit of a history. A few years ago, Webflow actually released Webflow Labs. This is an initiative run by the Webflow's former CTO, Brian, and the idea behind it is to create technology outside of the core Webflow platform. This is where the Figma to Webflow plugin was released. This is where they're working on syncing React with Webflow and leveraging Webflow for front-end development and many more things to come. The idea behind it is that you can use your standard tool you're used to for designing, thinking about the process, and thinking about your product. And it's Figma. Because of that, you're gonna be able to do all of that in Figma, to use the tool which was created for visual design, create everything pixel perfect, and use the Figma to Webflow plugin to go ahead and migrate all of that in a really powerful visual development tool and the CMS. As the plugin is pretty new, you cannot just copy paste everything and everything is gonna be perfect. But a really good thing is that it's coming closer and closer day in and day out, and that's what we're gonna be covering today. In order to install the plugin, you're first gonna go to the Webflow marketplace and download the plugin on your Webflow instance. After that, you're gonna go to the Figma marketplace and install the Figma to Webflow plugin on your Figma instance. With those two installed, you can quickly sync one of the projects you want for Webflow or all of your Webflow projects to the Figma to Webflow plugin and have a workflow where you can start actually using the tool day in and day out. And as with any plugin, I'm always trying to give an honest opinion. So first, we're gonna be covering the good use cases and then the bad use cases afterwards. But let's dive into the good use cases first. The first really good use case is color variables. As we do work with more than 40 clients currently at the moment, some of them include leading enterprises like Upwork, we have an understanding of how complex design systems can get. And we also do have websites which have 100,000 CMS items and pages and stuff like that. So when you come to that scale, managing design systems from a token perspective becomes really important. So let's see how this actually looks like. You're gonna open up your Figma, run the Figma to Webflow plugin. You're gonna be able to create a lot of different color variables. We decided to first create swatches of colors. So you can see that we have white, neutral, 100, 300, 400, 600, red, green, yellow. We have navy colors, we have brand colors in all of the possible different shades. And afterwards, we've decided to actually create separate color instances. Why? Because you don't want to connect the whole website to a single swatch, to change that swatch to pink, only to realize that you wanted your button to stay in a different color. So that's why I do strongly suggest creating swatches for all of the colors you're gonna be using, and then creating different swatches for elements which are gonna be using the colors themselves. Some of the examples can be a swatch for background, for text, for secondary text, for button background, for button text, for button hovers, and the list can go on and on and on. And you can create as easy or as complex design systems as you want to. And this is just an overview of how we use it at Flow Ninja and how you can create it for your own process. After we've created all of the color swatches, you can just open the Figma to Webflow plugin, go to the design system sync, click on the variables mode, and this is where we're gonna see all of our colors popping up. With just a simple click of a button, we can sync all of these variables to Webflow, we can navigate to Webflow and see all of these things being easily accessible for us to import in our project. This alone, if you have a pretty big project, can save you hours on hours. I don't know, we get projects which have multiple hundred pages that we need to develop. Design systems for these are pretty complex, and sometimes it can take a few days just to set up the style guide properly in order to actually kick off any work. So that's why I do believe this is a strong feature you need to take care of in your process when you're designing or when you're developing a Webflow project. So we can navigate to the variables panel here. We can see all of the possible swatches for colors, and we can also see individual colors for specific elements. This is a place where we're just gonna reconnect all of the colors to different variables. At this time, this is not happening automatically. With time, it might happen automatically. It's just a small thing you're just gonna need to reconnect again. And just like this, we have all colors synced from Figma to Webflow. And the best thing is we're able to sync this maybe monthly, weekly, daily, depending on how fast you want to change this. And these changes are gonna be reflected across your whole project. So by just clicking sync, we're able to sync all all of these colors back to Webflow. If you do a rebrand or anything like that, you're just clicking sync, connecting the colors here, and in the process, saving a lot of time. One important note to note is that this is a Figma to Webflow, not Figma to Webflow, Webflow to Figma. You're gonna need to know that whatever you change in Webflow is not gonna be reflected back in Figma. So just to have that as one of the things you're thinking about in your process. The next part is gonna be small components. And what I'm thinking about small components is stuff like cards, stuff like buttons, stuff like those kind of small tokens you're using across your website to scale it, and things which are continuously being repeated on across the website itself. I do believe that this is the best way to look at it. And that's why I'm gonna showcase how, for example, you can sync a button from Figma to Webflow and leverage it in your day-to-day work. As with everything, we're gonna have our button. Our button is gonna have the swatches, which we already created, and they're gonna be automatically synced with Webflow when we do migrate. We're gonna be opening the plugin, going to the design system sync, and we're gonna select the button element and click continue. In this case, we're gonna see that we're syncing one component and two variables. With that, we can just press sync this to Webflow, open our Figma to Webflow plugin in Webflow, open the component, import one of these components, and just like that, we have the button migrated from Figma to Webflow in just a few easy clicks. You're gonna be able to find those components if you open the component panel here and drag in a button on your page. With this, you're gonna be able to make sure that if you change the border radius, if you completely change the design of the button, or anything of that matter, it's gonna be really straightforward for you to go ahead and scale it, to change it, update it, and to not worry about how the heck am I gonna change this across all of the hundreds of pages that I have on my Webflow project. After moving from our really good things, let's move to the bad. With, of course, I want to be honest, there are places where you don't want to use the plugin. Personally, when we saw this at the studio and I was sitting with my CTO, I was like, hey, we're gonna start cranking out websites in just a few days, and like it's gonna be a completely new thing, which is gonna be a game changer to the industry. Well, that was not actually the case. Personally, our specialization is working on kind of complex projects, working for enterprises, working for kind of creative projects, and like more things which are not standard, which are not templatized. And even if we take a look at, like, say, for example, our services page, which is complex, but not actually like really complex, it would be almost impossible to go ahead and copy a page like this with the Figma to Webflow plugin and to have something worth using and to have something which is gonna save you time. And that's why I do believe you should think about the Figma to Webflow plugin as tokens and as a design system currently, and maybe with time it's gonna be easier to copy components, but at the moment I do believe it's really good for cards, buttons, like syncing colors, text sizes and stuff like that, and not actually going ahead and pasting whole pages into Webflow. So, what's my final verdict on the Figma to Webflow plugin? I do believe it's a really good thing to have in your arsenal, which is definitely gonna save you a lot of time. And we personally do use it at Flow Ninja, and we're gonna try to figure out how can we integrate it more and more and more into our design processes. So that's why I strongly encourage every single one of you, whether you're a designer or you're a developer or you're a unicorn, which does both of those things inside of Webflow and Figma, to go ahead and explore the plugin, see how you can use it, and improve your process by leveraging the tool itself. But just remember, the idea here is let's save time and let's make everything as efficient as possible. If we go ahead and optimize the Figma file in auto layouts and create like a Frankenstein out of the Figma file just to be able to copy the whole page over from Figma to Webflow, does it actually make sense to use the plugin itself? And this is what we felt on our side. When we saw the plugin, we forced our design team to go ahead and create the cleanest possible Figma files ever in order to go copy from Figma to Webflow. But in the process, we lost a lot of freedom, a lot of time was used in order to create files like that. Classes were messy, and more and more things were not as expected. From our side, we're gonna continue using this in our process for design systems the most, and maybe sometimes cheat a little and copy some of the really easy sections which are already in Figma. But I would love to see how's the community using it. So you can go ahead and type in a comment down below about your process of Figma to Webflow, how are you using it, what are your concerns, or if you're a VP of marketing or a marketing manager, you can drop a question and like just figure out how is this impacting your team and your website management process.